for free. If you're not on the text list to receive an invitation, just text the word greatness to 87948, and I'll send you guys an invitation, and you can all join for free. And it's a really good movie. You're gonna love it. And also, just Black Movie Night is always fun. We haven't done one probably in about, gosh, 6 months or so. And I apologize. It's just sometimes you get so busy. But anyway, Patricia, how are you? Patricia, did you miss the beginning? Well, I don't know what time you got here, but don't worry, you didn't miss nothing. I'll catch you up. Calvin McWilliams, El Haj, I see you. Good morning, Albert Robinson. And who else is in here? I see Antoinette and Byron, Felicia and Ginger, and Kenya, Josephine, Cynthia, Angela McKinney, Christian Ray. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Okay, so a couple of things I want to mention really quick to kind of start the day is did anybody see the jobs report? And does anybody know why I'm going to bring up the jobs report in a minute? Did you see the jobs report, and do you know why I'm going to talk about it as kind of our first point of discussion for financial consciousness training? The jobs report was really interesting. So here's what's going on with the economy right now that's really fascinating. And again, remember, in financial consciousness training, which we do every single morning at 10 a.m. Eastern, and if you're here, I'll be here with you unless I'm on an airplane or something like that. Um, the goal of financial consciousness training is to heighten your economic awareness, right? It's hard for you to harness money if you're not aware of money, right? If I'm not aware of when something goes by, then how can I harness it? How can I capture it? If I am a hunter and I'm hunting buffalo and a buffalo walks by me and I think the buffalo is an orangutan, then I'm not going to catch very many buffalo, right? So basically, that's the goal of financial consciousness training for those of you that are new. And it also make sure you get on the text list. A lot of you got the text the word morning to 87948. If you're not on the list, text morning to 87948. So basically, what's going on right now with the economy is that all the economists are kind of freaking out and they're saying, oh my God, the economy is so strong, it's so strong, it's so strong, it's so strong, it's so strong, right? And this is interesting because, and this also adds to the threat if you're a stockholder, which I hope everybody is, that there could be a dip this later on this year. We did a whole training on preparing for the economic storm, which we call storm-proof investing. And basically, I want you to kind of be ready because what's been going on is that right now everyone expects the Federal Reserve to reduce interest rates. They're expecting two or what they call rate cuts. And when they reduce interest rates, what it does is it boosts the economy. So in the beginning of the year, they were expecting 5 or 6 rate cuts this year. They're not getting 5 or 6. Now they're expecting like 2 or 3. But as of last week, there are people saying, like, why would we cut interest rates? This is probably not going to happen. Lawrence Summers, who was the former president of Harvard University, who's a very good economist, by the way. I remember reading his research when I was in graduate school. He was sitting there basically saying, like, there's no reason to do this. He said, you have a lot of risk out here in the economy. You really want to save your ammunition for, for the fact that something may go wrong. He's saying, like, why would you waste the bullets in your gun when there's nothing to shoot at, when there's no problems, everything's good? Why lower interest? Because typically what they do is they'll lower interest rates because there's a problem, there's a banking crisis, or there's a recession or stuff. They don't have that issue. We're very far from recession. There is no recession right now at all. They were forecasting rain in the economy. There ain't no rain. It's sunshine. It's Bermuda on a hot sunny day. That's what you got right now, right? So here's what's interesting though about this whole thing. So that's the first part, right? So I want you to just kind of know what people are seeing on in the economy on the horizon. They're seeing pretty good stuff. They also had some stuff to say about immigration, which is interesting. The fact that 4 million immigrants basically came into the country in the last like few weeks or whatever, right? And they said that this is part of the reason why the economy has gotten so strong and that inflation hasn't really been affected by that. Because what they said is that there's a massive supply of labor, a massive supply of employees, a massive supply of workers. Now, here's the deal. When you have a massive supply of workers, that is great for the economy, for sure. Well, why is that? Well, because you got more productivity and the employers have more options of people they can hire, and it doesn't cost that much, and it's great, right? It's great for the economy, but it ain't great for workers. It ain't great for workers because what it's doing is it's keeping the cost of labor low, which is basically if you have a job, that's your paycheck. That's the amount of money that they have to pay workers. Let me know. Give me a yes if you're following this. Give me because y'all know how I get excited. I start talking all over the place. But I was excited about all this stuff. I was playing virtual golf with my VR headset. I look like a big alien, and I was sitting in my room. My wife thinks I'm a weirdo because I'll be like, yeah, yeah. I'll be doing my Tiger Woods fist pump, really thinking like I'm a pro, and I'm listening to financial news, just taking in financial news, right? So I played a great golf tournament. I'm taking in financial news, and I'll be like, oh, I can't wait. I got to talk to him about this. Oh my God, I got to tell him. So basically, they're keeping the wages low, but the supply of workers is really high. So this is boosting the economy and is great for the economy. You know who it's great for? Great for people like you and I who are buying shares of stock in companies that benefit by having high profitability. Why are your profits high? I'm glad you asked. It's because we ain't got to pay workers nothing, right? Well, why would you not to pay workers? Well, because we got an endless supply of workers coming from south of the border. So if you want to know my little conspiracy theory, I think that somebody just opened up the gate and just pretended to forget to lock it. That's what they did. They were like, well, let's just let in, a couple, 2, 3, 4, 5 million people. American workers want to act funny and they want to demand a higher wage. They want a minimum wage of $20 an hour. The nerve of them, right? So let's just let in a few people from Mexico and Venezuela where they can't get $1 an hour, and let's see how that balances things out, right? You got the hot water, and then you let in some cold water, and now you got warm water that's getting colder by the second. This is one of the reasons why I told you I can't control what they do out there. I can't. But I can have some say in what happens in here. And I'm telling you, you better put your boots on, man, because this economy is headed in a specific direction, and the policies are of globalism are driven by what they call borderless societies, which allow for the free flow of labor across the border. So what does that mean for workers? It means, unfortunately, and I make it very sad. It makes me very sad to say this. It means that the wages really aren't going to go up. But you know what's going to go up? What y'all think's going to what do you think is going to go up? Corporate profits. Corporate profits. If I were to show you a chart right now of the trajectory of the stock market over the last several years, it would really blow your mind. When corporations are able to not have to increase the cost of labor and inflation is stable, but yet you've got this massive supply of people ready to come work for you and enhance your productivity, and you've got these innovations like AI and all that. Well, that's great for corporate profits, and it's very unfortunate because we don't live in a country that really supports labor unions the way that they should. And it makes me, if I mean, really, if I could change that policy, I would change it because it's unstable and it's very destabilizing. You're kind of depleting the middle class to some extent. So here's what I'm saying to you. So do y'all understand why I am, consistently reminding you every day, please, please, please participate in the stock market. You have to do this. I wrote my whole dissertation about the stock market. In fact, right now, what you're seeing, the way everything went down last week and now it came right back up on Monday. Not everything, not the whole market. I'm talking about specifically like the stocks that we talk about in the prime class. A lot of you saw this morning, you saw green in your portfolio, whereas all week you saw so much red you might have wanted to cry. Well, and we'll talk about this more tonight in prime class. We meet tonight at 8 o'clock. So make sure you're on the text list. Text options to 87948, and you'll get that link. And if you want to join the class, if you text options to 87948, I'll send you a link and you can join us if you want to. But basically, these are just what they call weekly reversals. The market tends to overreact. The stock market is a drama queen. So effectively, because you had this massive decline last week in certain sectors, you've now got a reversal, right? So it's like easy money if you are patient, if you're cool with that. So that's the next thing I wanted to share. The last thing I wanted to kind of break in is this interesting fact that I saw when it came to the jobs report. So one thing about the jobs report that's also very interesting, and actually, this is actually the original reason I brought this up. But y'all know me, and I hope it's yeah. Y'all gave me permission to rant sometimes, and I hope it can just be productive rants. How can you read my dissertation? It's out there on the internet. All by the way, every real PhD program it's supposed to make your dissertation available to the public. And I say real PhD program because you got a lot of fake ones out there. You got whole PhD mills and all this where you can basically buy a doctorate. But if you literally Google search Boyce Watkins, Ohio State PhD dissertation, you can find it. So it's out there. So Christopher, yeah, you can just go Google it. It's somewhere. I can't even. I have it in a box somewhere. But anyway, I got it done so I could get that job. So here's the deal. In the jobs report, what you saw also, which was very interesting to me, is that you saw that unemployment went down, right? Because you got this massive supply of labor coming from across the border, in addition to some other factors that basically have really led to a really low unemployment rate, right? Got it? So unemployment drops for everybody. Oh, except for one group. Which group do you think that is? Answer in the chat. Which group, out of all the groups that have a better unemployment rate now than they had before, which group do you think hit black? Which group do you think actually had the reverse? Our unemployment rate actually went up. I heard Mark Morial, who I've met him a couple times, he's a very nice guy. Mark Morial from the Urban League was on the air, and they're like, so Mr. Morial, what do you think is going on? Because Asian unemployment went down, white female unemployment went down, white male unemployment went down, but black unemployment went up. Wait, Latino, every other group, their unemployment rate went down except for black people. We're the only ones who have fewer jobs now than we had last quarter. So while the broader economy is doing great, the economy for working class black people is a little bit shaky. If the unemployment, put it this way, if your unemployment rate that you have right now was the national unemployment rate for everybody, they would consider that to be an economic problem. They would say, we've got to do something about this unemployment problem. But because it's just you, then there's no problem. It's like, oh, it's just the black people, so who cares? Almost like that book Huckleberry Finn. Anybody remember that part in the controversial part of the book Huckleberry Finn, where they said, was anybody killed in the fire? And he says, no, nobody, just two black people. And they use the N word. I'm not going to use that today because it's a Monday. But then again, I wouldn't use it. I'm not using it at all. But he says, no, 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 nobody was killed, just two black people. And then the other person goes, oh, I'm glad nobody was killed. Right. So that's kind of, I think, where we are to some extent in the broader economy, persona non grata. We're not really relevant in the eyes of other people. And I don't know if we ever will be, or how that works, right? So here's what I want to lay out in terms of a thought process. I put it in the context of a conversation about DEI and everything else. And so Mark Morial talked about the removal of DEI programs and how this likely affected the ability of black people to have jobs and keep jobs and all that. And I don't disagree with that. We've talked about DEI a little bit. I'll let you guys know I pretty much support it for the most part. I was an affirmative action hire at Syracuse University, so I would never speak against it. But what I question is the effectiveness of DEI or jobs when it comes to achieving economic progress and stability for the African American community. I really wonder if that is pretty much a distraction. In a way, maybe you can think about it like this, perhaps. If you have a person that's starving and they say, I'm hungry, and you say, well, here's a candy bar. Uh, a candy bar is better than nothing. A candy bar will keep you from starving. But if you're eating candy bars 3 or 4 times a day and that's all you eat, well, then you're going to get really sick. It's not going to be good for your long-term health. A better approach might be to say, why don't we take the time and find a grocery store or create a garden so that we can give you some healthy food? Do you understand? Right? So what jobs are to me, because jobs are the candy bar. They're the economic candy bar that is waved in the face of the black community in every election. Every election, it's jobs, jobs, jobs. We need more jobs for black people. We're gonna get more jobs for black people. And so we get addicted to the candy bars because eating a candy bar is a lot easier than finding some health food or growing food in your garden. Just take it from a guy who had to go to the gym because my belly gets a little bigger because sometimes eating whatever's next to me is easier than finding something healthy. And so what that does is that reduces the long-term incentive to do what I believe is a much more sustainable solution, which is to put in the work to learn how, as a community, to create jobs of our own. Do you follow me? Right? So if you say to a starving man, would you rather have a candy bar or starve to death? Then of course he's going to choose the candy bar. It makes perfect sense. I would choose the candy bar for him. But if you're talking more long term, I would say, okay, let's give him the candy bar now so he does not die, but we're going to get him off of the candy bars so that he can learn how to grow and eat some healthy food. Because if he keeps eating candy bars, he's going to die. Not only is he going to be hit by the long term effects of not eating the candy bar, but there's also the other problem, which says that if he's dependent on you to provide him with a candy bar in order for him to eat, then he is going to be in trouble if you ever decide that you want to punish him by taking away his candy bar. Do you understand? So jobs are a problem for a couple of reasons. Number one, jobs, which are the economic candy bar, have no connection to long-term wealth creation. I just explained to you in no uncertain terms, and I hope that you understand where I'm coming from, that this economy is not a place that rewards entire communities where everybody has a job. It just doesn't work out. I told you, I just explained that to you. Inflation's not going up because they have an endless supply of people from other countries that are willing to take the jobs at any price. So jobs are not a long-term wealth building tool for any community anywhere. And then number two, there's the other effect, which is political, which says that if you get out of line, if your black butt loses favor, if they decide to stop feeding you the economic candy bar, then you're gonna starve to death. So what's happened in America, in my opinion, is two long-term effects. Number one, where they started giving you all the economic candy bars from DEI and affirmative action, our wealth did not grow. Every study out there that you can find anywhere pretty much shows that black people's wealth did not grow. Our financial security did not grow. Our economic stability did not grow during our whole period of affirmative action, DEI, and all that other stuff. Second of all, now they done took away the candy bar. Now they've got to the point where they're just, kind of like, we used to like black people, but not anymore. And so well we don't dislike them, but we think DEI is stupid, so we're gonna kind of get rid of it, right? So the Republicans are outraged by it, and then the liberals are like, yeah, we would fight for it, but we got more important things to fight for, and that's whatever, right? So your candy bar is being taken away. Now, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? And I can just tell you that jobs, for the most part, they've never really worked for black people. You got to have a better economic plan. Let me explain it another way. I was listening to the former Treasury Secretary, or I think, sorry, she's not former Treasury, she is the current Treasury Secretary, Janet Yellen. Janet Yellen, the Treasury Secretary, just went to China, and during the time that she was in China, she toured the whole country. It was basically telling them she was doing a Nino Brown from New Jack City. She was playing the dope dealer who basically says, y'all infringing on our territory. You can't don't come on our block. That's what she was basically saying. She was telling the Chinese government, stop dumping your cars and your solar panels. They're mass producing solar panels in China, and the government's subsidizing it and is dumping it on the market and is putting their companies out of business. What she was basically arguing the entire time, what she pretty much said, which was really interesting, is that it is against the economic interests of the United States to allow China to subsidize companies to the point where they put our companies out of business. That's what she's basically saying, right? And and what she was effectively arguing is something that I think black people should consider as well, is that when you allow other people to make you dependent on their process, their products, their whatever, then you become vulnerable to that other party. She was defending the interests of the United States by saying, we're not going to become dependent on China for solar panels in electric vehicles, because those are two of the areas that came up. There's some other areas as well. And so effectively, as black people, instead of just thinking about where you're going to get your next paycheck from, you need to also think about your long-term economic and political security. You have to ask yourself, how healthy is it? Let me know if you're following this. I know I'm making a subtle point here, but how healthy is it to have your financial security controlled and managed by people who don't have a history of doing right by you? I mean, your whole ability to feel safe, it is controlled by somebody else. Your access to happiness is controlled by somebody else. Your self-esteem, your ability to say, I'm proud of myself. Look, mama, I made it. I became somebody. That's all controlled by somebody else. Who was it? Oh gosh, oh gosh. I was talking to an actress in LA who's a producer, writer, director, and who's really talented. And she said that she used to have one of her dream goals as an actress was to be on Saturday Night Live. And I said, I can't remember the name. Can somebody give me the name of the guy who runs Saturday Night Live? There's one guy whose name pops up as the guy that controls SNL. Can somebody give me that name? Because I can't remember his name right now. And anyway, so as you when you say the name, Lauren Michaels, thank you. So she said, yeah, she said, and I felt like a failure because I didn't achieve my goal of getting on SNL and I didn't feel like I succeeded. I said, so you're telling me that your ability to feel like you're a successful actress is controlled by Lorne Michaels. So Lorne Michaels, you've given him godlike ability to decide if you have a right to feel proud of yourself or not. Because you do know that Lorne Michaels could be a kind of guy who says, well, hey, if you sleep with me, I'll put you on the show. And then you can feel proud of yourself because you gave me some sex and I put you on SNL, right? Like, why would you allow someone else to control your ability to access something that is as important to you as your ability to feel proud of yourself or to feel like a success versus a failure? You got a lot of fake successes in the world, and you got a lot of people that have been falsely believed that they have failed because they allowed some gatekeeper or some system or process to give them access to their right or their ability to feel proud of themselves. And I don't think that that's very good for you. So what I'm saying is that one of the benefits of Black business ownership and Black control of capital and really thinking about our economics as really a part of our Black national security is that you then gain the right and the ability to reward yourself as a success or failure based on criteria and rules that you create, that you decide. Do you understand? Like, there ain't no white man on this earth that has the ability to tell Boyce Watkins that he's a good scholar. I don't need them to tell me that I'm a smart man. I don't need them to tell me that I'm good at what I do. I know these things. I have other criteria that are independent of people who don't like me. All right. I just don't need that. And that's very important because why would I even want that? Because their interests are different from my interests. Because if I gave them that power, they would use that power to control me. They'd say, "Well, Boyce, we'd give you more opportunities, son, if you cut down all that radical rhetoric that you throw out there." Well, you know what? You're taken out of the equation completely because I don't give a damn what you think. Like what you think that's not even relevant to what we're doing over here. There's a whole different set of measuring sticks that we use in this space. So a lot of times your ability to win in a space isn't just driven by how good you are, it's driven by understanding on a consciousness, higher dimensional level your ability to define the space within which you operate. Do you understand? I'm not talking about winning the game. I'm really talking about changing the game. I'm also talking about changing the arena within which the game is played. Do you follow what I'm saying? Do you get what I'm saying? That this is literally what consciousness is. An unconscious person will just play the game, keep losing, and doesn't know why they keep losing. A conscious person will go to dimension 3, 4, 5, and 6 and say, well, wait, what is this game? Who made the rules? Why am I here? Why is he the referee? Wait, what why is their basket further further away from the 3-point line than my basket? Right? That's what higher level consciousness does. And I want you to be able to have that so you can really understand whether a game is even worth your time. Like good lawyers, you know what good lawyers do? I love this. My attorney was explaining this to me one time. I thought that was great. Is excuse me. He says so most of the time when you get sued or if you sue somebody else, he said, my first step is not to defend the accusation that you've made. He said, my first step is to ask the question whether or not you're even filing in the right court and asking the right question in the first place. I'm not even going to worry about what my answer is until we ask a more primitive question, which is, did you file in federal court when you should have filed in state court? Did you ask this legal question when you should have asked that legal question? Right? Do you even have the right to ask the question? Right? And that literally is something I think we can learn from as a community in terms of how we build our families. When white folks question me and challenge me, I'm like, do you even have the right to ask this question in the first place? Before I get to, that was my whole argument. I think that's why I pissed off the people of Syracuse. I would have got rid of me too because I was a pain in their butt. But I remember when they were like, "Well, we think that you have to change this and you have to stop doing that and blah blah." And I was like, I can't even answer your question. I'm not going to spend energy answering your question because I don't even think you have the right to even ask this question. You're not qualified to ask this question because when I look at your track record and the fact that you've never even promoted a single black person in the field of finance in your 100-year history, what on earth would make me think that that a group of people who have a hiring record that is more racist than a Klansman even is qualified to evaluate black talent? Maybe you think that white supremacy gives you the right to do that because we're accustomed to black people operating as the children of white people. We're accustomed to others being here and us being down here. That what they think about us is so important. And I see this all the time, right? And I just question all that. I say, no, actually, no, I'm not answering to an authority that I do not respect. So long story short, just going back to the point with Janet Yellen and protectionism, the way she was in China protecting the interests of the United States. I think you have to really protect the interests of your family. You have to protect your the interests of yourself, and you have to protect the interests of your community. And what does that look like? Well, jobs ain't it. Jobs are not it. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with people having jobs. I know some of us got some of y'all at work listening to me right now. Nothing, I'm not making fun of that at all. So please do not ever think I'm saying that to you. I'm just saying that all of us can't do that. Because what happens? Well, you get stuff like you have right now, where everybody's unemployment rate is going down except for ours. Our unemployment rate is getting worse. Our wealth, everybody else's wealth is going up. Well, our wealth has been pretty flat, and it's actually going to be at zero by 2053, according to a lot of estimates. And I can tell you again, because I'm a financial scientist, I can explain to you exactly where the leaks in the bucket are. I can explain to you exactly why black wealth isn't going up. And a lot of it is mainly because you have what I would almost call leaks in the bucket, in the sense that you have things like student loans that are killing your ability of your best and brightest to even build any wealth. You have a lot of black college graduates who are going to die with a negative net worth. Negative net worth does not add to your wealth; it takes away from your wealth. Also, you have an excessive commitment to things like consumerism, renting versus owning, and also you have a heavy job culture. You love to work for white people. That's what you're trained to do. And so what happens is that you're the people that could have become your next Mark Zuckerberg or your next Elon Musk, they never become that because they simply become employees for somebody else. And then there's also some other factors in there as well. And also just that lack of commitment to legacy planning and estate planning, right? Inheriting and passing wealth to the next generation isn't something that a lot of us grew up hearing about or talking about. And also, the culture for a very long time was not an investing culture. Every single study shows that families that have an investing culture have a lot more wealth than families that don't have an investing culture. It's no different from, think about it like losing weight. Imagine if you have a family where the whole culture is investing in exercise. If we get any spare time, we're doing jumping jacks, we run around the block, we're in the gym, right? If that's their culture of just exercise, 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 well, then that family is going to be in much, much better shape than a family whose culture is eating potato chips and ho-hos and watching BET all day, right? Like literally, if you think about that, just that little basic thing, just having an investing culture when it comes to not just health, but wealth, relationships, anything, that's going to lead to a different set of outcomes. So the question that we always have to ask ourselves is, well, what is our culture? What is our what is the culture you were raised in? Were you raised in an investing culture? Did you sit down at the dinner table and have your parents talk about stock ownership, starting a business, buying real estate? Or did they talk about things like, like getting a job or whatever, or what kind of new shoes somebody bought, or somebody getting the latest iPhone or whatever? right? When you talked about getting a place to live, did you sit around and talk about finding ways to sacrifice in order to raise the money to make a down payment to buy property, or was the conversation like, hey, I just rented me a really nice apartment because I got me a really good job and I make a lot of money? Well, that's nice, but what's happening when you do that, when you see that standard template that you see in so many families, where somebody finishes school, they get a great job, and they start buying nice stuff, which nothing wrong with nice stuff. I like nice stuff too. And then they start and so they got a great job. They're renting a really nice apartment. They're buying nice stuff, and so that person in that situation, in my view, is what I call living off of a flow. You're living off of a flow of income as opposed to a stock. You're not building any stock, you're living off of a flow. Well, the problem with living off of a flow is like just drinking the water that comes out of your sink, right? If somebody stops pouring the water in your sink, then you're not going to have anything to drink. You're gonna die from thirst, right? So effectively, a stock is when you're taking the flow and you're storing it to the side, right? So a more appropriate way to approach that would be to say, okay, the flow is temporary, the stock is permanent. That means right now I'm working, I'm renting, I am buying nice stuff, but I'm creating a surplus, right? I'm living below my means and by say 20%, and that 20% is going toward something long term. It's going towards something that creates stability. I'm building an institution behind me. I'm building my economic bodyguard behind me, right? Because remember, if you don't have an economic bodyguard, then what happens is you become very financially insecure. You're stuck because you don't have what? A capital base. Anybody give me a yes if you know the term capital base. A capital base is that economic bodyguard that allows you to be financially safe in case your flow gets disrupted, right? So you're enjoying the flow, the water's coming out of the faucet, you're drinking plenty of it, but you're storing 20% of that water into your stock. You're building your capital base, you're building your economic bodyguard. Well, what does that look like? Well, that means you're putting that extra money into stock. You're putting that extra money into real estate. You're putting that extra money into your side hustle, your multiple streams of income, your business, whatever it is. And then next thing you know, you've actually got this little institution behind you. Again, I think of it like an economic bodyguard because in my head, I draw these visuals to help me better understand certain concepts and why they matter. So imagine if you go into a dangerous neighborhood, like the neighborhood of competitive economic capitalism, right? It's real gangster. It's real nasty. America's a cutthroat country when it comes to economics. They will turn you into a slave in a minute. That's what they do. They will kick you in your entire ass and not even care about how you feel, right? They will literally will shut you down. They will incarcerate you. America's a country where you can go to jail for not having enough money. Just ask anybody who gets arrested and can't afford the bail, right? So you're going into this gangster neighborhood called competitive economics, and you have no bodyguard. You have no protection. Right? If you don't have that capital base behind you, you have no protection. So you go into this dangerous neighborhood with no protection, you're gonna get beat up. You're gonna get beat up. Somebody's gonna, they're gonna turn you into their little slave, or they do that. They talk about going to prison and stuff, and somebody gonna turn you into a what, like that kind of thing. Like you going into a real rough spot, and because you're not protected, you have no protection. You have no gang affiliation, so to speak. You have nothing backing you up. Well, then you're going to get controlled by somebody else. And that's what I see when I see somebody who says, I would be living my best life. I would be spending more time with my family, but I can't because I got to go to work. And you say, well, why do you keep going to work every day if you hate the job? Well, because I need the money. But your boss is racist and they mistreat you and it stresses you out and it's killing you. Why do you keep going back to that job? Well, because I have nowhere else to go. Well, that to me is that's you telling me I have no protection. I have no safe space. I have nothing. So really, when I think about money and economic power and building a capital base, I'm really thinking about everyone sort of being committed to the idea of understanding the importance of having a safe space, because the safe space connects to a lot of the factors that affect us so much from being black. A lot of black people don't feel safe. You feel scared. You're scared to talk, scared to move, scared of what's going to happen next, and that's trauma. Like all that trauma, it triggers us. It's horrible. It's a horrible way to live, right? So if I have kids and I really really love my kids, then I'm going to say, well, I want my kids to be safe. So how am I going to make them safe? Well, that's where things like the $5 a day plan and stuff like that come into play, because you're just building them that capital base. You're giving them that big economic bodyguard so that when you release the child into the world, into this ugly, nasty nasty, terrible world of competitive economics, they've got some protection. Do you understand? So give yourself protection. Give your kids protection. Give your family protection. And then you'll find that all the things all the scary things that come with being black are not quite as scary. I mean, you're still gonna be black. You'll still, but I consider that to be a blessing. I don't feel cursed to be a black man. Everything about being a black man to me is a absolute blessing. I don't wake up every day and say, "Gosh, I wish I was a white guy named Steve." No, I don't. I don't. I really like being black. Being black is really cool. But whatever. Maybe for some of us there are some downsides to that, and I get that, and I understand that feeling. But a lot of times, the reason that maybe you associate the negatives with being black could be partly driven by the fact that being black comes with this culture of not really being protected. You're going into these integrated spaces and you're not being protected from the people who don't like you. And that really shapes your worldview in so many ways that you can't even imagine. It also affects your mental and your physical health. And I would tell you that there are studies out there that show that the reason black men die earlier than everyone else is because of the stress we go through on our job every day. Did y'all know that? That's what kills you. And a lot of black women have significant health issues because of undiagnosed, untreated trauma and the massive amount of stress that comes with having to be the strong black woman that can survive in a racist society. I don't want you to have to be all those things. I want you to feel safe. So think about your economics. Talk to your family about your economics. Let's keep on doing this every single morning. I'm gonna be right here with you every day. This is my thing. This is what I know. I'll tell you what I know. Because at the end of the day, I just want all of us to feel safe, and that's it. I want you safe and happy, and that's it. And I think that's the best that we can do for each other. All right. So anyway, guys. Before I let you go, a couple quick announcements. Number one, don't forget to make sure you're on the text list. I'll send you an invite tomorrow morning to join us at 10 a.m. Eastern inside the Zoom. Just text the word morning to 87948. Get on your phone, type into the number 87948, text the word morning to 87948. And then also, we're going to show our movie, B1 the movie, Wednesday night during our Powernomics training. We do Powernomics training every Wednesday night at 8:30, where we go through all the Dr. Claude Anderson's books. I'm going to call Dr. Anderson today. I'll give him your regards. He wants you guys to know how proud he is of you all and what you're doing by educating yourselves and educating each other. We don't need don't get me wrong, nothing against critical race theory and all that stuff, but we don't need other people teaching us who we are and teaching us our history. I think we got this covered. It's 87948, Erica, 87948. Last but not least, tonight we are meeting for a prime class, and that is where we are talking about ways to generate extra income by selling stock options. There's a video I want to show you guys where actually Mark Cuban talks about how he literally executed the strategy that we talk about in class, where basically when he sold his company to Yahoo, he said he got about $1.8 billion in stock. He didn't get money, he got stock. And when he got the stock, he did something that his friends didn't do. And it was right at the dot-com bubble. And so basically the strategy he did was he sold the calls on the stock and then he bought puts to protect himself against the downside. And he said that saved him because Yahoo stock plummeted, I want to say 70, 80, 90%, like right during the dot-com bubble. And that saved him a lot of money. And that's what kept him a billionaire. If Mark Cuban had not done that, he would not be a billionaire today. He said that was considered to be one of the top 10 trades of all time on Wall Street. That's how powerful it was. So this is the kind of stuff we talk about in the prime class. This really does work. So if anybody's in there or anybody in the class, say something in the chat so people will know that this is the real deal. If you want to join us, feel free to go to drboyceprime.com. Prime stands for Passive Recurring Income Machine. It's drboyceprime.com. We meet tonight, I think at 8 o'clock. I'll text you guys the link to join us tonight. So I'll see you then. All right. Have a good day, everybody. God bless you. And I will see you all tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.